You finally have time to rest. The deadline passed, the crisis ended, the noise stopped, and your mind gets louder. Not calmer, louder. Thoughts you didn't know you were carrying suddenly flood in. Old conversations replay on loop. Small worries that didn't exist 5 minutes ago suddenly feel urgent. You thought quiet would feel like relief, my me time. Instead, it feels like discomfort. If rest has ever felt harder than chaos, you're not broken or alone. You're just finally still enough to notice what you've been running from. There's a term for this in psychology, the silence gap. It's what happens when external noise drops and internal noise rushes in to fill the space. Your nervous system doesn't know what to do with stillness, so it creates urgency. Suddenly, your mind says, I should organize my closet, or I need to get some groceries, or why am I sitting? I will bake something. Not because those things are urgent, but because doing something feels safer than doing nothing. And if there's nothing for you to do, your mind finds something else to think about, like the argument you had earlier and thoughts about what you should have said, your relationship, and wondering if something is wrong there, a worry about the future that wasn't bothering you earlier today. Not because those things need answers right now, but because keeping them in your head feels safer than letting yourself feel what's underneath. For years, maybe decades, busyness kept you functional. At some point, your body learned a simple rule: as long as we stay busy, we're safe. And that rule worked, until life slowed down. This is why Sunday afternoons feel heavier than Monday mornings, why lying in bed at night feels harder than getting through the day, why the moment you finally sit down with a coffee, quiet, still, your mind asks, wait, what are we forgetting? Nothing is wrong, nothing is urgent, but your body doesn't believe that. It keeps scanning, planning, bracing, because somewhere in your wiring, stillness doesn't register as safe, it registers as vulnerable. So you do what most people do. You fill the silence. Podcasts in the car, videos while you eat, a show playing while you fold laundry, scrolling in bed even though you're exhausted, not because you love the content, but because quiet feels uncomfortable. And when filling the silence stops working, you try something else. You try to make yourself calm. You follow breathing exercises while secretly checking if they're working. Rest starts to feel like effort, and when it doesn't work, you assume you're failing at something that should be easy. But here's what's actually happening. Your loud mind isn't malfunctioning. It's trying to tell you something hasn't been felt yet. The argument you replayed in your head wasn't just about what was said. The questions about your relationship weren't just overthinking. The future worry that suddenly appeared wasn't really about the future. They were pointing to something underneath. Grief you stayed busy to avoid. Fear you never had time to name. Resentment you swallowed to keep the peace. A version of yourself you performed for so long, you forgot it was a performance. Busyness didn't erase those things. It postponed them. And now that you're finally still, they're asking to be noticed.
Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Your loud mind isn't fate. It's a map of what you've been carrying, of what busyness helped you survive, of what never had permission to be felt. And the moment you stop treating it like the enemy, something begins to shift. So what actually helps? Not silencing your thoughts, not forcing calm, not trying to win against your own mind. The shift is gentler than that. You stop fighting what shows up. You start noticing it. You try to deal with it. When your mind spirals, sometimes it helps to offer your body a signal of safety, a hand on your chest, a quiet reminder that you're safe right now. Not to make the thoughts disappear, just to let your nervous system know there's no emergency. When old conversations replay, you don't analyze them. You notice the loop and let it pass. When rest feels uncomfortable, you don't force yourself to relax. You allow the discomfort to be there without treating it like something that needs fixing. This isn't about fixing yourself. It's about creating enough safety for your nervous system to finally stand down. For some people, that support comes through therapy. For others, somatic work, medical guidance, or trauma-informed care. None of that means you failed. It means you're responding to yourself with care instead of force. Understanding comes first. Tools come second. Because once you understand the pattern, you stop treating your mind like the problem and start seeing it as the part of you that's been trying to protect you. The goal isn't perfect silence. The goal is to feel safe enough to stop performing survival chores and start experiencing life. Safe enough to pause without panic. Safe enough to rest without your mind treating it like a threat. Your loud mind isn't the enemy. It's the part of you that kept you alive when things weren't safe, and now it's asking for permission to rest too. If this helped, leave one word in the comments. The thing you've been protecting yourself from by staying busy. Not to explain it, not to fix it, just to name it. Because naming it is often the first step toward no longer running. And if you know someone who's been living in their head for a long time, you're welcome to share this with them. Subscribe for more ideas that create real change. Subtle wins. One idea, 10 minutes, real change.